As of August 9, 2025, India has firmly denied any involvement, interest, or negotiation regarding the potential acquisition of the KF-21 Boramae fighter jet, developed by Korea Aerospace Industries. This position has been clearly communicated by both the Indian Air Force and the Ministry of Defense, who have explicitly stated that there is no ongoing evaluation, no communication with South Korea, and no formal or informal offer concerning this aircraft. The Indian government's position has been unambiguous in public, issued in response to multiple foreign media reports and speculation suggesting that India may be considering the KF-21 as part of its Air Force modernization strategy. These reports are now understood to be inaccurate and not based on any real movement within India's defense establishment. The KF-21, while a high-profile development in the global fighter aircraft market, remains a project primarily in its testing and limited production phases. Though it has gained some attention internationally as a lower-cost alternative to fifth-generation aircraft, Indian defense authorities have shown no intention of adopting platforms that are not yet fully operational or battle-proven. India's procurement strategy is built around structured processes that involve internal requirements assessments, budgetary planning, request for information and request for proposal stages, trials, and extended evaluations before any aircraft is shortlisted or purchased. At no point has the KF-21 been part of this process within India. There has been no official dialogue between Indian authorities and the South Korean government or Korea Aerospace Industries about the inclusion of this fighter in India's plans. India's current defense posture, especially in terms of air power, is based on a dual-track approach that balances the acquisition of advanced systems from abroad with the simultaneous development of indigenous capabilities. Over the last several years, India has made clear policy shifts toward increasing domestic defense production. These policy changes are not symbolic. They are reflected in large-scale government programs and budget allocations aimed at building a robust local aerospace industry. The decision to avoid engaging with projects like the KF-21 is consistent with this policy orientation. In India's view, purchasing a fighter jet that is still under development, built entirely abroad, and not connected to India's own industrial base would be strategically and economically misaligned with its long-term defense goals. India has also prioritized operational maturity and maintenance support as key elements in aircraft acquisition decisions. In the case of the KF-21, it remains a platform that has not yet entered full-scale operational service in its home country. Indian decision-makers typically avoid adopting early-stage systems that might pose unknown long-term maintenance, logistical, or performance challenges. The Indian Air Force has previously faced operational and financial risks by inducting platforms that were not fully matured at the time of purchase. These past experiences have contributed to a more conservative and process-driven acquisition model today, in which only well-tested and widely deployed systems are seriously considered for procurement, unless a compelling strategic or industrial argument exists for earlier engagement. The KF-21 does not currently meet these thresholds. In addition to technical and operational considerations, India has emphasized its intent to only pursue foreign defense platforms that offer co-development, joint manufacturing, or technology transfer arrangements. From the Indian government's point of view, importing off-the-shelf aircraft does little to advance the country's long-term objectives of technological sovereignty and domestic capability growth. With respect to the KF-21, there has been no indication from South Korea or KAI that such industrial cooperation frameworks involving India have been offered, proposed, or discussed. Without this component, there is no incentive for India to consider deviating from its domestic programs or partnerships that already incorporate local production and research elements. The Indian Air Force also continues to maintain its focus on standardization and logistical streamlining. Introducing a new platform like the KF-21, particularly one that is not in service with India's key defense partners, would create an entirely new logistical chain, training requirement, and support infrastructure. These factors add substantial complexity and cost to long-term force management and are typically avoided unless there is a strong strategic rationale. Currently, India has not found that rationale in the KF-21. There is no indication that the aircraft provides a capability that cannot be achieved through existing or planned Indian platforms or that it would fill an urgent gap in operational readiness. The absence of such a unique or necessary advantage further reduces the KF-21's relevance to India's current defense needs. Moreover, Indian defense procurement is shaped by not just technical evaluations, but also geopolitical considerations and long-term partnerships. India tends to pursue long-term defense cooperation where there is alignment in strategic goals, military interoperability, and wider economic engagement. While India maintains cordial relations with South Korea and values bilateral ties, there has been no indication that these ties are currently being extended into the realm of major combat aircraft acquisition. This further distances the possibility of the KF-21 being included in India's airpower modernization efforts. From the standpoint of military doctrine and strategic planning, India also places emphasis on platforms that have a proven role within its regional threat perception, terrain, and mission types. The Indian Air Force operates in diverse environments, from high-altitude Himalayan regions to maritime zones and expansive desert and jungle theaters. The process of selecting fighter aircraft includes assessing how a system integrates with India's existing infrastructure, training programs, mission types, and deployment strategies. At this point, the KF-21 has not undergone any evaluation that would allow such integration assessments to take place. Therefore, there is no data or operational context in which India could even begin to assess the suitability of this aircraft for its needs. India's public denial of interest in the KF-21 is not a routine clarification. It reflects an established institutional position that is unlikely to shift without significant new developments. Given the clear and consistent messaging from Indian defense officials, it is evident that any suggestion of Indian participation in or interest toward the KF-21 fighter program is incorrect. There is no credible source within the Indian government or military establishment that supports the claims made in speculative media reports. Instead, India continues to focus its resources, planning, and political will on the development and procurement of systems that fit within its well-defined strategic, economic, and technological frameworks. Therefore, as of now, the Indian Air Force has not shown any interest in acquiring or evaluating the KF-21. The Ministry of Defense has denied any such intention, and no processes are in motion that would support or suggest a change in this stance. The platform does not meet the current policy, strategic, industrial, or operational criteria that would justify its consideration by Indian authorities. All available information from official sources confirms that the KF-21 is not part of India's defense planning in the near or medium term.